Anton Chekhov, long before he became a famous writer, was born in the city of Taganrog, a gloomy place where everything seems to be dying. Anton's father was a lazy drunk, and he also owned a failing grocery store. He used to hit Anton and his 5 other siblings. However, he was doing this out of love and God's will, not out of spite and desperation. Anton's mother was a kind and weak person, yet she failed to contain her husband's despicable attitude and remained mostly passive. The father would not only hit his children but also make them sing in the choir every Sunday, which is the only day the grocery store was closed. He would make them wake up at 5 a.m. and practice before the morning service. After that, he would keep on pushing them till the other service at noon. The children were exhausted. The father kept a pious attitude in public only to be violent and drunk in private. Anton soon realized that this hypocrisy was not only present in his family, but all over the town of Taganrog. Anton laughed at this hypocrisy, and he was really good at impersonating the phony people of Taganrog. He would make his family laugh with his improvised imitations. The harshness of his circumstances made Anton cruel, bitter, and resentful. However, things changed completely for him in 1875. His 2 older brothers decided to leave the city. Being tired of their father, they decided to go pursue their dreams in Moscow. The father was infuriated, but he had no other choice but to let them go. He also realized how bad of a job he had done at the store. Facing debts and fearing for his safety and freedom, he decided to flee the city without informing his wife and join his 2 elder sons in Moscow. The mother was left alone. She had to sell all the family possessions to reimburse the debts. A boarder who was living with them took advantage of her weak position and his connections to take over their house. The mother left the city penniless and had no other recourse but to follow her husband and 2 elder sons to Moscow with the rest of their kids. Anton was the only one who stayed in Taganrog to finish his studies and get his diploma. He was also in charge of selling the rest of the possessions and sending the money to his family. The new owner of the house gave Anton a small corner where he could stay. He was completely left to himself. He was infuriated at times and depressed at other times. He blamed his father for all that misery. However, Anton could not afford to be complacent in his despair. He had nothing and had to survive. He decided to tutor families all around town. Sometimes he would go days without food when he was unemployed. At other times he would be ashamed of his poor clothing and misery while entering a house. He would also spend time at the local library to study, read literature and philosophy. His mind started expanding and new emotions came about. At night, he would come back to his small corner and write stories. Several months after he was left alone, Anton was walking through the street of Taganrog. He felt proud of himself for surviving alone, and as he was wandering about, he started welling up. He suddenly felt an overwhelming feeling of empathy and compassion for his parents. At that moment, he realized that his father was more a victim than an oppressor. He also suffered endless beatings from his own father and suffered frustration for he had not the life he had aspired to have. The Chekhovs had been serfs for generations, and Anton's grandfather had bought off their freedom. Anton's father was made to work a job he had no inclination towards, even though he wanted to become an artist. Unfortunately, he would never walk this path. Anton's father was reduced to the failing grocery store, his wife, and 6 kids. Although they were free, he still had...
Sorry for the interruption. For more details about the subjects in those videos,
Check out our Instagram post and our podcast links in the description box below. Had a despicable deference towards those in power. Anton could finally relieve himself of this negative load, this burden that he had been carrying for so many years. He could accept, forgive, and even love his father. He could embrace him as a man with flaws and traumas. He could also forgive his mother's weakness. He vowed at the moment to own up to his worth and potential. He decided not to waste time on past offenses and disorderly living. Work and love was his new MO. He would share his new inspiration and aspiration with the world through his writings and his plays, and he would try to save his family. In 1879, Anton moved to Moscow to join his family and attend medical school. His family was living in misery. They were all crammed in a single room with a few other boarders in the middle of the red light district. That was not even the worst part. His father kept on beating on his children at work, odd jobs every now and then. His mother was despondent and constantly worried about the state of affairs. His younger siblings were not going to school for lack of money, and his two older brothers were slowly but surely following into their father's footsteps. Anton decided not to scold, blame, or point fingers. He decided to lead by example. He took charge of the household work to relieve his mother and sister for a while. His brothers, seeing him ironing and cleaning, also decided to help. The goal was to elevate the spirits, keep the morale, and hold the family together. Anton worked and saved money. He also found his father a better job. They soon moved to a better apartment with a view. He helped his siblings get back into school. He got books for his brothers and sister, and at night they would discuss science and philosophy. His elder brother, Nikolai, had died from alcoholism at one point. Anton made an extra effort to make sure his older brother, Alexander, would not follow suit. Alexander would complain about their father and yell at their mother. He would indulge in licentious, reckless behavior. It took a while for Anton to get Alexander to settle, but after some time, his older brother finally became stable and reliable. He was now a journalist, a career he had always wanted to pursue. At one point during this period, Anton started spitting blood. He was showing the first clear signs of tuberculosis, yet he would not yield to the sickness and kept on living as if nothing. As his writing and plays became increasingly popular, his fame was attracting the jealousy and pettiness of the literary world. He became disenchanted with the different political factions and the bickering against one another. He felt depressed and started losing the enthusiasm he had gained from his time in Taganrog. Anton was always fascinated by the scum and lowliest members of society. He liked to understand their ways of thinking and write about them. He decided to make the perilous journey to the Sakhalin Island, the notorious prison who had the worst conditions and the harshest treatments towards the convicts. Sakhalin Island was hell on earth. He would witness the torture sessions and the dangerous and endless hard work in the freezing cold of the mines. Whole families were living there. A lot of husbands were staying in the labor camps even after they had regained their freedom. Wives and daughters had no other choice but to sell their own bodies to survive. Anton, witnessing all this gloom and doom, began to forget about the shallowness and pettiness of the literary Moscow world. He started feeling this compassion and empathy he had felt in Taganrog. The book he wrote, Sakhalin Island, was made famous, caught the public eye, and helped change the conditions of the prison significantly for the better. After that, Anton got closer and closer to his death. He would still live as if nothing. Fearless in the face of his ultimate end, he remained calm and composed, almost shocking everybody around him. He was focused on his writings. In the winter, he took a ride in the countryside to feel the cold air one last time. He died a few months later. Please comment, write down below your struggles and what subjects you want to learn about. Please help us make better content for you guys. Subscribe and click the bell button to be notified. Stay in touch with us. Videos come out every week. Don't miss them. Thanks a lot for your support. Get one or more of our ebooks. Some are free, some are almost free. Either way, you will benefit tremendously from them. Check the link in the description box below and don't forget to be inspired and inspire.